The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. A's Baseball, past, present, and future. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, the host and the hostess. Well, first, the hostess, Nancy Finley, present and accounted for.
Thank you. I'm here.
Yeah, how you doing, Nancy?
Great. It's so nice out here. Is it as sunny there as it is out here?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's a little crisp by the standards we're used to in the past few weeks of a heat wave. But it's nice. And Jerry Feitelberg joins us. He'll tell you the same thing. Wherever he is, the sun is always shining.
Oh, it's a beautiful day today, Ralph. I'm hanging down.
Of course, because spring training started.
Yeah. I'm not down. I'd love to be in Arizona for the month of March, but afraid that's not on the calendar this year.
Okay. It has been in the past. Tell me about a spring training, something cool that happened in spring training. Maybe your first spring training. What was that like?
Oh, one year, I think it was in 1997 when I was on the medical staff of the A's. I went down. I think I had a convention, a pharmacy convention in L.A., and then I flew from L.A. to Phoenix. But what was neat is when I was down there, the trainers gave me a list of stuff. I called the store. They packed up a bunch of meds and sent it down to the club. Oh, that was nice. The sad thing that happened that day was that the A's had a young player, was a regular second baseman, and they had another guy that he came up as a third baseman, and they sent him out on an inter-squad game to play second base. And when he came back, the reports came back that he could play second base. They called the regular second baseman into the office, and they cut him. Young guy in his prime, and it was devastating for this young fellow. I'll never forget that. And here he was. He expected to be the starting second baseman for the A's, and he ended up being cut, and now he had to go look for a job. He did connect with the Minnesota Twins later in the season, so everything worked out for him. He was okay. But it's very devastating for a young player to be cut.
See, if that happened with us, it would have been in the papers. I mean,
really? It would have been in the papers? No, there was nothing in the papers about this.
Well, I just think that we were too lax about letting everything get out in the paper. Now, it's a good thing that they don't. They have rules. I don't know when that was able to take effect, but I really...
Well, it depends. If you're looking at it from management standpoint, you're looking to suppress the news. And if you're looking at it from a fan standpoint, they want to get all the news they can. Or a journalist standpoint, they want to be able to get all the news they can. So I see both sides.
Why did we we thought people had the right to make his or her own mind up, but I don't know.
You thought the owners had the right to make their own mind up, Nancy.
Yeah, but people like to know, people like to know behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
They like to know what the decisions are. Why did they cut this guy? Why did they hire the other guy? Who knows?
Yeah, and we let players
for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Jerry, should they have had him behind closed doors when they cut him? Did they cut him?
Yeah, they did. It was behind closed doors. It was behind closed doors, and he came in to say goodbye to the trainers, and that's when he broke up.
I understand. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, but that was good.
Okay. At least they had the kindness not to make the announcement to the kid right in the middle of the locker room.
Oh yeah. Oh no. They had a meeting and it was really upset. I felt bad for the guy because I thought he had a pretty good stick and he was doing well with the A's, but they saw it differently. So
That's, Ralph, that's what, by the way, Jerry reminded me of something. There's something I've seen on social media, and people are saying that's my family brought the A's here. But let me see. Oh, one person said, yeah, but Finley traded all my best players. And, I hear that, but then I think, well, yeah, but there have been other trades since then of players people really like. What's the difference?
Well, the difference was they were coming off 5 consecutive appearances in the playoffs, sandwiched between three World Series, and
if we didn't have to,
they wanted the thing to go on indefinitely. These were young players for the most part.
What about the dump or the trades of Tim Hudson and Mark Mulder? The A's had been in the playoffs 3 years in a row, and they chose to have a salary dump. They got rid of those guys.
I want to give the analogy of what's happening currently. The A's, you mentioned Tim Hudson, and I thought back then that was taking the heart out of the team. He was the pitcher. He more so than Mulder, more so than Zito. He was the heart and soul of that team. He was a bulldog. Point being, the same thing can be said about Sonny Gray. We talked about this a few weeks ago, that he, too, was the heart of their pitching staff. Playoff experience, a young guy, they trade him to the Yankees. So let's, you and I, give the fans a little bit of an update. It's been done. We're not going to go back on that. We know from whence the A's come from. Build up a farm system, you get good players, trade them away, can't pay them, back and forth the cycle. In between, we've had some pretty good years, interesting years too. So if you look at it from that standpoint, it hasn't all been horrible. But let's look at it now from today. Today we have a young team who can really make a dent in that American League West. We're not that far away, and if not this year, certainly in the coming year, and part of the reason is the 3 players that they obtained for Sonny Gray, one of whom has had major league experience, but hasn't been up to bat yet. Long story about Mr. Fowler. And he's rehabbing and doing supposedly very well. He is, if not a long shot, odds on to win center field, and he has much more of an upside than Smolinski, the way I see it.
He has a more upside.
There are also 2 other guys that they got in the minor leagues that we'll talk about after I get Jerry's impression of Fowler and the state of the A's now. They may not be that far away.
No, the A's, Fowler will be, if he can play as they hope he can, will be a terrific upgrade in center field due to the fact that neither Blue Powell nor Jake Smolinski are top-notch center fielders. They're average ball players. But Dustin Fowler has the opportunity to really make a name for himself in Oakland. And I think he'll relish the chance to. I hope he has a great spring and comes on board. And then when you look at the rest of the team, and I hope we get to chat about the A's infield, the rest of the guys in the outfield, you can see that, yes, they do have a chance. Their pitching will be iffy, and we'll discuss that too. But they have the beast in the West is the Houston Astros, and they got better when they made the trade for Garrett Cole. So their pitching is better, and they've still got the lefty that won the Cy Young Award a couple of years ago, and I think the Astros are going to be very, very formidable. My God, they got Altuve, they got Correa, they got Springer, they got Marwin Gonzalez.
Well, you know, Jerry, in today's day and age, I might remind you and everybody else that we have a wild card and 2 wild cards
That's
going.
right.
And I can remember hearing Bochy saying early on when the Giants were made the playoffs for the first time, saying, you know, you make the playoffs, anything can happen. It's a crapshoot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Jerry, are you with the New York Stock Exchange?
I had a good day in the stock exchange today, yes.
No, I mean, from where you're calling from, you got phones going off and what have you?
I'm at Isla's house. And,
no, you got a book going, Jerry. I can hear that. In the background it said, I heard it say, bet Notre Dame and pray they win.
He's got a talking phone.
I don't have a book.
You're not a bookie, huh? I can depend on that because I worry.
My dad had one of those call a lot after school. He's Big Al. I remember Big Al.
You gave me a great memory way back when my brother owned a pharmacy, a drugstore in Boston, and he had 3 payphones in the store. That's when people actually used phones.
I remember, sadly.
And at 5 o'clock, the bookies would pay him to put the out of order sign on the 3 phones, and they would go in there and make their calls to get the race results.
Really?
And that just reminded me of that.
Oh.
And they had fabulous characters in those days. One of the bookies' names was Foxhole Tom. Another guy was Panama Joe. The third one was Clutchy Goldman. And Clutchy, they called him Clutchy because you put the money in his hand and he wouldn't let go.
Oh, how funny. Well, this was during football season, so Dad could work it that time, I guess. But Big Al had a bar on Broadway in Oakland, and I just knew him as Big Al. He had a really big voice, and he called a lot during football season, and I just remember how exciting it seemed around that time.
Oh yeah, you can make a bet. In those days, way back when, Ralph, before the states took over running the numbers game, you could place a bet on a number for 10 cents, and the odds, I think if you hit the number, you got $60 back for your 10-cent bet.
Are bookies out of business?
Of course, the state's running the numbers game. California has the Daily 3 and the Daily 4. You know, that was it.
I didn't know that. So, I mean, like for football games, stuff like that.
Oh, the bookies aren't out of business for small-time bettors.
But they
can't go to Vegas.
No, they can't compete with Las Vegas. But you got the online guys going, too, which is a whole other world.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's sort of sad that those guys, you know, they're out. They just don't have a role anymore.
Oh, and before they played such a nice, important role in our life society. So,
but you know, going back to the early days of baseball, you know, and remember the 1919 Black Sox scandal. Betting on baseball was very, very common. People used to be in the stands, and they would bet, you know, whatever it was, whether a guy was going to get a hit or a strikeout, whatever they would do, and they were doing it quite openly in the stands. And that, of course, changed over the years too.
That was during Prohibition, probably.
Yeah, you know, well, 1919 is when the Black Sox scandal occurred, which was kind of interesting because if you remember, the players were acquitted in 1920. And then they
in a court of law, but not Judge Landis's court.
Judge Landis banned the 8 of them for life, 8 men out.
Right.
And it was kind of sad because Shoeless Joe Jackson, who many believe deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, hit 375 during the World Series. He certainly did not tank it. And what was unusual about
yeah.
He did accept the money, but he really didn't know why. All the players were very, very mad at Comiskey at the time.
Yes.
And they certainly weren't the only ones involved in gambling. My friend and fellow podcaster here at Comfortably Zone Radio, Ian Kahanowitz, has just completed a book about the tales of Ty Cobb and Chris Speaker betting on baseball back then.
Oh, really?
Jim wrote that?
I didn't know that. Didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, look for that book coming out. Very interesting. Betting was and is an integral part of the sports world. Let me mix something in that's off the A's thing, but it's certainly about betting, and it's certainly about baseball. I do a show with Peter Golenbach, and I found out how Pete Rose bet. He didn't, as everybody knows, bet against his own team. Okay. And he didn't bet win or lose. He bet the over and under.
Oh, very interesting.
So that he had control of the pitching staff, and if he was betting the over, which he would do because of that control, he would just leave a tired relief pitcher in there until the numbers got up.
Then he'd yank him.
And then he'd yank him because it wouldn't matter. At that point, they took the over. Say the over is 5-4, 9. If it gets to a total or whatever, 4-3. If it gets to a total of 7 or 8, boom, you yank him. You try to win the game. He wasn't trying to lose. He was trying to win, but he was trying to win money first. He was degenerate. Now, that said, should he be in the Hall of Fame? And should other degenerates be taken out of the Hall of Fame? That's a conversation.
Well, we don't know. We don't know. And as far as if Rose had been more contrite, if he had admitted that he had gambled, he denied it for so long. If he had been up front and said, "Yeah, I did it. It was a mistake, and I'm going into rehab," and they may have forgiven him for that. But what you're
they
saying
absolutely would have. This is a forgiving. They gave him every chance because he was good for baseball. He was a terrific coach, a terrific teacher, and nobody loved the game more. They wanted him back. They wanted him to say, "Mea culpa, I was sorry.
If he was denying
I'll
it,
do better."
how did they prove it if he was denying it? Did he finally?
Well, they had
betting sheets. They found the betting sheets. They did an extensive investigation. It was literally
he had
a year.
He had a flunky place the bets for him. He didn't do it directly, and the flunky gave evidence or told the prosecutors what was going on. That's how they caught him.
Oh my God! Wow, I see what you mean. If he had just come right out.
As a player, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But as a person,
no question,
they're not going to let him in.
Yeah, I understand.
No, not in his lifetime because he's already 2 or 3 times with different books come out. He's lying about this. It's just no way he's going to.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that he lied at first and exactly what he was doing. Because I've always wondered since Kuhn was.
Well, he denied it, which you could appreciate. But then, when the overwhelming evidence was presented, he didn't. He didn't say, I'm a degenerate. I have a problem.
Morgan tells me if you know.
I think that Bart Giamatti. Nancy, I think Bart Giamatti was the commissioner at the time of this, and of course Giamatti died, and then Fay Vincent took over, if you recall.
Oh, is that when that happened?
That was during
right,
that time.
and Fay Vincent was a Bart Giamatti protege, and he really loved the man, and he contended that making a decision like that. Remember, Pete Rose was Pete Rose. He was Charlie Hustle. He was all the things that the overachieving guy, and that his personal struggle with the suspension caused his early demise. Now, how can you can't quantify something like that, but but his mindset was to stress for as high a penalty on Pete Rose as you can get, and he, lifetime penalty, and he wasn't prone to listen to him, and, baseball could have gotten him some help. How about that? The Players Union could have come by and said, we don't just protect your finances in this union, we protect you as a human being. So, as a matter of fact, we won't cover up steroid use anymore because it's bad for you and it will wreck your body. And we won't cover up the P-test anymore so that if you're not playing by the rules, we won't stand for it. Nah, they didn't do that because they're on a pay scale. So they're to blame every bit as much as management, who knew what went on. And, and then you could look at the other side, how much culpability do they have for all of this? And
well, the owners are certainly culpable in the steroid stuff because the baseball strike of 1994, which is 24 years ago, that nearly killed baseball. Remember they had 2 spring trainings in 1995, and people weren't coming to the game.
Oh yeah, one of the spring trainings was with the with the scabs.
Yeah, and then of course Sosa and McGuire had the home run chase in '98, and then Bonds had 73 in 2001, and people, they started coming back to the ball games, and they started loving what they saw, and unfortunately, people started saying, "Hey, these guys shouldn't be hitting 73 homers in a season. Why are these guys doing it? It's never been done before. Something's going on." And the Players Union protected the players. The owners protected them. They turned a blind eye. And finally, they came around to say, "Hey, this is wrong, and we got to clean it up."
Wasn't there also something about the equipment, like being made out not in Louisville anymore, but like in outside of the country, and it wasn't as good? Or maybe they
could be. A lot of the bats, Nancy, the ones that are made of maple now, they break so frequently. Two or three bats a game break.
I remember Sosa.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
Then balls
Sosa had a cork bat. Remember?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. So no more Louisville Slugger, huh?
Yeah. Albert Bell had a cork bat too, and someone climbed through the duct in an office building and try and retrieve the bat and change it so that they wouldn't find out that Bell was using a cork bat too. I forgot, maybe it was Grimsley or someone like that.
I do remember that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. They tried. It was in the umpire's room, and they came in through. They tunneled their way through in the bowels of the stadium to get to the umpire's room, and they were caught.
Now, does someone look over the equipment now? Do they have someone who inspects everything?
Well, they're going
to have somebody to inspect the inspector, and he's due next week. They have a temporary inspector there now, inspecting not only will he be inspecting the inspector, but the new inspector.
And the baseballs might bounce easier. You know, some of them.
Sure.
Who knows? But let's talk about the A's in
Yes.
the upcoming season.
I would like that.
Now, do you think all the players?
But first, let's get Nancy a chance to talk about the social media and what she has to read as a descendant of Charlie Finley and her dad, his cousin Carl.
Well, it's good. It looks good. People are talking about how, remember, the Finleys brought the team to town. They're talking about that. However, then I'll see someone talk about, trading his favorite players. Then I'll see someone say, yeah, but Finley was a jackass. I think that's the word they use. And I really want to go in and define jackass. But I'm not.
Why do you say that? And people aren't, one thing or another. They're all.
Are they saying it because someone else does it?
Bunch of gray. We're all a bunch of gray, and ask them to find out which part of Charlie's humanity they disagree with, and maybe an interaction with you will put them in a position to be a little more contrite about what words they use and who's listening, because after all, these are humans with players, management, radio podcasters. We're all human beings.
Well, why are they saying that? Are they repeating someone? Do they really know what they're saying? I mean, sometimes it seems like it's a mentality thing where they hear someone say that about Charlie, so they're going to say it.
Well,
I learned
you could look at their ages. You could go to their Facebook thing, and you get at least an approximate idea of how old they are. And chances are they weren't even around 35 years ago when all this was going on, and they have gotten a lot of revisionary history along the way. And hey, myself, I've learned so much about what your dad was really like and what Charlie was like and what their relationship was like from you. Having read your book, which Nancy, you know about the rule of publishing.
I read it.
Selfish, selfless self-promotion. The book is called Finley Ball. It's by you, Nancy Finley. And tell the audience where the book can be obtained.
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and most any private bookstore.
Beautiful.
Yes.
And also, some people haven't heard, I have asked you this before, what motivated you to write the book in the first place?
Because it seemed like our memory was vanishing. I was concerned, and I especially wanted Dad to be remembered because of everything he did to keep that team going and the Coliseum open and everything around here to keep. I mean, there was a lot of work. So I wanted to make sure Dad's remembered. Dad was more than a GM. He was between a GM, VP, and owner.
Now, may I ask you this, Nancy? When did he do what he did out here in Kansas City?
Yes.
For Charlie, or was it just when the team moved out here in '68?
No, it was in Kansas City too. I found checks with Dad's name, Kansas City Municipal Stadium, Kansas City. Just those were his checks. He did the same thing there. The good part was it was closer to Chicago, so Charlie could come in and do more. I remember they traveled together. But out here, it was like he was on his own.
Where's a good source of material about the move from Philadelphia to Kansas City, and then, of course, Arnold Johnson's demise. And I think Johnson died in 1959.
Tell me
It's on
where.
YouTube. On YouTube.
Really?
You just type in the Philadelphia A's, the Kansas City A's. I was watching a bunch of videos of how the A's arrived in Kansas City in 1955 after, how Earl Mack
You mean
sort of
Ernie
undermined his father. Yeah,
Connie Mack, yeah.
Yeah, Connie Mack had two sons from his first wife. Mack was born in 1862, and his second wife, I think Ruth Mack, his daughter, is about 100 years old if she's still alive. But anyway, Connie Mack, when he was managing the A's in around 1950, couldn't remember the players' names. Apparently, he must have been starting to lose it.
Yeah.
And he had two sons working, and one of the sons, there was a third son, Connie Mack Jr., but that was his son with the second wife, and the two older Mack boys didn't like Connie Mack Jr., and they wanted to make sure that Connie Mack Jr. didn't get the team, so they sort of undermined.
I communicate with Connie Mack the third. Okay, I'm glad I know that. Okay.
And they undermined Connie Mack, and they realized that his time was up as a manager. He was just too old.
Yeah.
And they engineered the sale. And what happened was the Yankees did not want the A's in Philadelphia at that time. They wanted to get out of Philadelphia. That's why the Yankees picked Arnold Johnson, and they moved the club to Kansas City. And of course,
why did the Yankees want the A's out of Philadelphia? Was that too close to proximity?
Yeah, too close. Just
you know who we should have on if you want to talk about this is John Peterson wrote the book called the Kansas City Athletics 1955 to 1967. And we share emails. I like him because he's very respectful of what I know, but I've learned from him. And
that'd be great.
Yeah, he'll talk about
that. Would be absolutely terrific.
Oh, he would
love that.
It in Omaha. Mm-hmm. He
Fantastic.
would love it.
Yeah.
And Jeff Katz, the mayor of Cooperstown, he wrote the book, The Kansas City Athletics and the Other Half of the Yankees. And I could tell Katz was really trying to figure out what went on. He ends where my book begins, and he writes about it, but not as thorough as John Peterson does. John goes up into 67. But John did not know because he couldn't find the part where the city raised our lease so high that we had to get out. And I was telling him the part about what made us leave. But he's a nice person.
What year did Charlie buy the Kansas City A's?
It was November 1960. He won the auction.
Okay, gotcha.
He won
I meant to tell you that in one of the videos, they did an interview with Gus Zernial. Remember the big right-hand slugger with the A's in the 50s? With
the 5 baseballs in his hand on the baseball card.
Yeah, and Zernial said the players were actually very happy to go to Kansas City because there was nobody in the stands in Philadelphia. They had very small crowds the last few years in Philadelphia because the team was so bad, and they enjoyed when they went to Kansas City. They had a full stadium every day in 1955, their first season. They really felt alive.
Could I get John on to? I'd love to hear him talk to Jerry about this because I really don't know as much about the 50s.
Then would you get him on? Give him the numbers and the time to call.
I will.
We do it
at
2:30 on Thursdays.
Oh, I will. I
just get him the numbers and have him call in.
I have an email from him now sitting there, so I will because he talks over my head about like what Jerry's talking about, Philadelphia and Kansas City. So I will invite him for next Thursday.
Hey Nancy, if it'll make you feel any better, people talk over my head all the time.
Okay, Ralph. Let's talk about the A's coming up for 2018. Come on.
Okay.
All right. From Jerry Feitelberg, the Maven.
Are we going to keep the players that have potential?
Oh, of course, because they don't cost a lot of money.
Okay.
The club's got control for 5 years on Matt Olson and Matt Chapman, and
okay.
But you know, we can talk. I think we talked about the infield. They really have a pretty good, solid infield with Chapman at third base and Olson at first base, and they got Lowry at second base. You know, Jed Lowry set a club record last year. He had 49 doubles. That guy could rake. He was really a doubles machine last year.
And he's being pushed at second. There's a young rookie second baseman who's looking to take his job. They also have a utility infielder named Pinder who's looking for a position. They're deep in the infield, and Alonso's going to be a DH.
Not
with
Alonso.
Fowler in center.
Yonder Alonso's with the Indians. Chris Davis is going to be.
Chris Davis, rather. I'm sorry.
Davis
the guy
had
on my fantasy team.
Davis had 43 homers last year and 110 RBI. And now he's got some guys in the lineup with pot. You know, it was Marcus Semien 2 years ago in 2016. Semien had 27 homers. And Semien missed half of the season last year with an injury, but he should be back. Ron Washington worked with him and improved his fielding greatly. Most people don't realize that he was the second baseman with the White Sox when he came to the A's. He had no shortstop experience whatsoever. He made a lot of errors. But when Washington came on, he worked with him. I saw him working with him before the game, doing all kinds of stuff. And Semien is in footwork and throwing improved, and he's a pretty darn good shortstop right now. So they got a very good infield. And we talked about the outfield with Steve Piscotty coming over from the Cardinals. Hopefully Dustin Fowler and Matt Joyce had a good year. Pinder will be a fourth outfielder, or he'll be the utility infielder. But they also got.
Let me get to the Achilles tendon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Catching. They got three guys that are totally replaceable. They're going with Bruce Maxwell because he's a left-hand bat. Maxwell hit 207, which is not good at all.
And it's a bad time when you're a 207 hitter who got into a bunch of controversy for not standing for the national anthem and picked up a lot of fans. I love that because he wasn't against the national anthem. He was against racial injustice. Just
correct.
Like Calabac, the quarterback, who's going to get a tremendous settlement when he sues the NFL because no one will take him. He's been blackballed. But my point is that it's not a good idea to be rung up on a weapons charge the day that the United States of America experiences the 18th shooting in a school in a month and a half.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
This is what we've come to in this world. And it's scary from the standpoint that if you add all the school shootings in the world outside of America, there were only 17 since 1980.
And how many?
So we have become. This is absolutely nuts, and I just had to throw that in. So, Mr. Maxwell.
Maxwell announced he's going to stand for the national anthem. He's not going to kneel this season.
Well, I hope he announces he's just not going to do he's going to give up his gun.
Well, I hope he. I hope he announces he can hit better.
In no particular order, Jerry. Maybe all three of them.
Yeah, the Achilles. The thing is, there's a guy out there that they could use. He's a free agent, but they probably won't spend the money, and that's Jonathan Lucroy.
I know the Mets are in the same position, and I hope that one of those teams get Lucroy. it would put the Mets over as far as I'm concerned. If their pitching comes back and stays healthy, they're going to be legitimate contenders, and getting LaCroix is what they need to work with that pitching staff, a young pitching staff, and throw some hitting in there. Oh, that would be nice. But you said it. Neither the Mets or the A's are likely to spend the money. That's a little frustrating.
And the A's have a young staff. I'm going to throw some names out, and they're all ifs. They're all ifs. Their two best starters last year were Sean Manaea, the lefty, who was 12-10, which wasn't bad, and Kendall Graveman. Graveman had won 10 games the year before, but he was on the DL a couple times last year. Those two guys are number 1 and 2. But they've got some interesting names on the list. Remember Paul Blackburn came over in the trade from the Mariners for Danny Valencia?
Yes.
Blackburn was 3-1, had a 3.22 ERA in 10 starts, and then he got hurt and missed the rest of the season. So I would pencil him in for the 3-starter. And then you got guys like Jarrell Cotton, who came over from the
he could be a real legitimate top of the order if you talk about potential and stuff.
Right.
He racked up in the Arizona Fall League a year or so ago, and I don't know why he was expected to have a great year last year. I don't know what.
And he didn't. He was totally
inconsistent. The fall off came.
I have to ask
you. Totally inconsistent.
Money doesn't mean you can. I mean, we proved you can't really buy a win. So, I mean, I'm thinking, why does the money? I guess why does it matter if? I mean, it depends on how much you're willing to go. You shouldn't outbid each other, but yet I think we proved that money didn't buy a win, a championship.
And, money doesn't buy happiness, Nancy.
That's what I hear, yes.
Yeah, but I know people have tried to get close to me for my big bucks. Not going to work.
And it won't buy me.
I have a radar detector. You can't do it.
But I hear about Yankees have all this money, but yet, but we won. We were able to win. So it doesn't, it doesn't, if you don't have the money, you still might win.
Well, as Bobby McClatchin said, it's the money, honey.
Well, that's what I hear. But
show me the money, honey. The landlord came and knocked on the door and said, show me the money, honey.
Yeah. So what kind of World Series were we? It was like New York and then Oakland. So
absolutely.
Really, if you think about it, Yankees have the longest run, and then we have a long run. What is going on? So we're compared to New York.
Right. And for the second ring of the Oakland A's 2018 pitching staff, who are going to contend, Jerry Feitelberg, for those last two berths?
Well, they've got a guy coming off Tommy John surgery. Came over in the White Sox trade was Chris Bassett. The A's traded Samaja, and they got Semien and Bassett in the trade, and he's got potential. They've got a guy with a funky motion, Daniel Mengden. He's got that handlebar mustache. He was
what are those?
Like Raleigh fingers. But at the end of the year, he pitched very well at the end of the year. They've got another guy coming off the DL, Andrew Triggs, who pitched fairly well before he got hurt. And then they got a lefty down in the minor leagues their number one draft choice a couple of years ago, the lefty H.A. Puk, P-U-K, Puck or Puk, who probably will be up with the club at some time. And so those are the guys that will be fighting for the spots on the rotation.
Well, they have two lefty pitchers in the top 10 left-handed prospects in baseball.
Well, Puck has
and they
to
have
be
a
one
catcher,
of them.
and they have a catcher in the top 10 prospects for catchers. That's a good sign. And they've got like three guys in the top 100 prospect list. And if you look at the minors, compare the minor league ratings, they're pretty well up there, given the amount of money that the team is permitted to spend on international scouting. We're handicapped. Let's face it, there's no big revenue coming in for TV and radio. The radio is on FM. That ought to tell you something right there.
What about satellite?
Yeah, great. The radio's on FM.
It's on satellite.
Don't know. Okay.
It doesn't speak highly. They don't have a big TV contract, and they have a small but very loyal, but very small fan base, and they play in a dump. So they'll draw when the Yankees get here and when the Red Sox get here, but rarely at other times, except when they win. They do quite well when they're in it in September, and I honestly think, Jerry and I have been talking about this, I think they're going to be a very interesting team. If at the All-Star break they are at the point where they're 500 or more, remember in today's day and age of multiple wild cards, anything can happen. And if they could make a move, perhaps, at that time, if they're in it, and got to give Billy Beane a lot of credit. Just like as a Met fan, I give Sandy Alderson a lot of credit.
He was mentored by
Dad. Keeping it going with nothing. Maybe, something will be available. I'd like to see him sign an experienced second-line pitcher in the rotation. A few guys out there, Locke is one of them, whom I'd like to see either the Mets or the A's sign him. They both have the same needs. And as I said before, you sign Lucroy, that's going to make your pitching staff develop that much faster. And
there's a couple out there, too, that won't cost them that much. I think Lance Lynn is one. Alex Cobb is another. I don't think it would cost the A's too much money if they won a 2-year contract with a couple of those guys. They're not going to
Not at all, especially since the market of free agents has dropped like a rock. Mainly, I think, two reasons. Boros is their agent. Of all the free agents out there, he must own 15 of the 18.
Yeah. He worked for us? Was that the same Boros?
No, that was a Steve Boros. And
he was,
totally different guy. Rest in peace, Steve Boros. You were a good baseball man. Okay. No question. Yeah. I'm talking to you as if you're going to answer me. But
how's Sandy doing, by the way? Alderson.
What's he doing?
Is he still with
Sandy's
the Mets?
running the Mets.
I know, but I remember he said his contract was up, so I just wasn't sure if he had a new contract.
No, he's still there.
Okay.
No,
good.
He is.
Good.
And the Orioles signed Andrew Kashner this afternoon, 2-year deal, $16 million. So that was an $8 million in the third year for an option for $10 million. And they're talking about Jake Arrieta getting between 18 and 20 million. The A's are not going to go for that. They would never sign Arrieta at all.
Hey, former A's coach Joe DiMaggio just turned over in his grave 4 times. So
But I'll tell you who's available. There was a big story on Jake Peavy today on Bleacher Report. You know, Jake Peavy had a financial advisor, and he lost.
I remember that.
He lost $30 million of Jake's money.
He should have called Morgan. I know.
Yeah, and he's healthy now. I don't know how old he is, but
That's
he'd
behind
probably be available on a minor league contract and prove himself that he could pitch. And those are the kind of guys that the A's like. Remember they went with Ben Sheets. They gave him a $10 million a year contract, and he didn't perform. They gave a reliever, Jim Johnson, $10 million, and he didn't perform. They could probably get Petey for $1 million or so on a minor league deal, and if he works out, they could bring him into the rotation.
I have to tell you something. I'm like a 10th cousin of Peavy's.
Oh, no kidding. Fabulous.
Well, actually, yeah.
He lives down in Alabama, too.
The Finleys are. We found it out through DNA. It's from Alabama. But
yeah.
I don't want to. Peavy doesn't.
Actually, Nancy, you're a 10th cousin of everybody in Alabama.
Well, Peavy doesn't need to know. Right. But I remember.
Are you saying that there's a lot of intermarriage amongst?
No, I'm not saying that. It's a rumor, allegedly, Nancy. It's all allegedly.
They say that.
God bless the South.
We're all connected.
The Confederate dollar is going to rise again. I'm just not going to be around to see it, sadly.
God, no. Oh, my God.
I'm an
That's
old
like
man.
the Bitcoin. Oh, I don't want to hear about any other kind of money. Just leave my money alone, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but no, Peavy is a name you remember. So when you said that, I remember that.
Absolutely. And Finley is a name one remembers, too.
Thank you.
If you stop to think about it. You know, guys, this has been one of the most terrific shows we've had. I just enjoy the flow of conversation.
I love hearing y'all talk.
Well, Nancy, I teach Lenny Randall Yiddish, spare time job on the Lenny Randall show we have. I'm going to start teaching you Yiddish from now on. And in return, I'm going to start talking with a little bit of a drawl.
Okay. I can't.
A drawl with a Brooklyn accent. There you go.
A drawl with a Brooklyn. Y'all get off my lawn, you bastards. Y'all.
No, y'all.
Y'all.
Yes,
I'm getting better at it. I'm working at it. I got an elocution coach. He's teaching me. Well, it's a she. But, you know, I confuse. It's San Francisco stuff. Don't matter to me. I don't care. Elocution is what I'm about.
Is that Italian?
Doesn't matter what you look like.
Is that Italian?
Did I break any political correctness rules, or is it too late in the show for that?
No. It's
by the way, it was Lenny's birthday a day or so ago.
February 1st. I remember.
Yes, it was. And he's like a teenager, I'll tell you. He's got more energy than any human being of my age.
I want his coffee. I wished him happy birthday on Twitter.
We didn't invite.
Well, they call him Cappuccino. He's a cappuccino guy. He will drink. When I taught traffic school, I'd put 5 little scoops of cappuccino in my Vente coffee. And
there you go.
Got through the day, and he does that. But his is more of a natural through the day. He's got a great way about him.
It's contagious. That's good.
Well, all right. Ralph, you'll appreciate this. When we were on the ship, cappuccino flowed all day long.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they had a coffee bar. Anytime you wanted, they had cappuccino, and you'd have a cookie or whatever. And it was nice to have a nice little sitting room and on the ship, and they'd make any kinds of coffee that you'd like.
And 3 meals on a regular basis, meals.
No,
yeah, they did. It wasn't 24/7, but it was. They had regular hours. The main dining room was, I think, open 6:30 to 8:30 in the morning for breakfast, and then they opened up for lunchtime, and then they closed at a regular time. And then they had, if you wanted high tea, they had high tea, different part of the ship. But and then dinner, of course, they had a couple places. They had the buffet for dinner, or you wanted to go downstairs in the main dining room for dinner, which was very lovely. Then they had two specialty restaurants. They had the Italian restaurant, and then they had the steakhouse. And we visited there quite a bit.
Oh,
It
you
was
had a
great.
Did you gain the customary 10 pounds that one gains
No, I lost
on
weight.
one of these
No,
trips?
Isla had me. I had no desserts. I couldn't have any bread. I was very, very careful, and I actually lost weight on the trip. It was very
Wow.
good.
Sounds like she's going to keep you alive for a long time, right till the funeral.
She does a great job.
I want to meet Isla.
Isla is one terrific lady. We had a lovely dinner last night at Cafe Brioche in Palo Alto. It was a terrific dinner. Nice French restaurant.
Very cool.
We all need to go out together.
Well, absolutely. We have to do another nations trip. You bring Isla, and we'll do it on a day when Tally's home, and we'll all six of us get together.
Just let it.
I went over to Alameda Landing last week. They got a bunch of restaurants over there too.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be nations.
I'd like to see one of those. Yeah, I'd like to go there again.
I don't know. Have you been to the Habit? They have great salads with the Habit.
No, I used to go there. I would love to go there again and see what they have.
Sure, why not?
All right.
We'll have to do it.
When the A's crew get together, the good times will flow.
Well, I'll tell you
that was my John Miller.
When the games start this year, I'm going to be excited to watch these guys you're talking about. Believe me.
Oh yeah.
We'll look at, because of Jerry's knowledge, we will look at them with a informed eye. How about that?
Oh, yeah.
March 29th, 1 p.m. is opening day.
I've been invited by Mr. Cavell to be there on March 30th. That's an evening, Friday evening.
Oh, Friday, I don't do weekends, Nancy. That's on Isla's no-no list. But I'll be there the 29th. Well, I'll talk to her.
I'm just curious. I'm a nosy son of a bitch. Why is that on Isla's no-no list?
Well,
what else is on Isla's no-no list?
when we first started going out together, it was weekends only, and now of course it's almost 7 days a week. So the only time I had when of course when the A's are home, I was doing 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, and I do the away games too. So I got to do Monday through Thursday each week. So how many? There's 26. I do 104 stories during the season. So the weekends were our time together.
Yeah.
But I can certainly appreciate that.
If I can convince her that we would be sitting with Nancy and Dave Gavel, I think that might intrigue her.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to ask about the 29th too. See what's going on that day. So.
On the 29th is opening day. Yeah, we have one of our dear friends is having her 75th birthday that night, and I thought it was very nice of the A's to schedule opening day at 1 o'clock. Have a day opening.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I'm always good for a day game. I just can't stand going out at night for a myriad of different reasons. Temperature just drops, even though it's warmer than San Francisco in the East Bay. It ain't that thrilling at night.
You have our parkas on, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a particular fan of day baseball, and there's really, if you look between the lines, you might as well be at any park in the world because it doesn't matter if you're just looking at baseball. So
you got it.
The fact that it's a dumpy ballpark, once you're there and watching the game, nobody ever complains about the ballpark this or the ballpark that. Keep that in mind. The only time they complain about it is when they're not going or when they can't go.
I have to ask you, be sure to look at my website and watch the YouTube of Harvey coming out of the ground.
Okay, if you will be sure to put a link of our show on the website, Nancy. I'll look at it twice.
My son's going to have to do it because I haven't been successful.
I can appreciate that. I haven't been successful in most everything. I'm sad, I'm dejected, but it's spring training. So I just got over it. How about that?
My son promised me he will put some more things on my website for me.
All right. Well, why don't you bring your son on as a guest sometime, Nancy?
Oh, he's so shy. I don't think he would. He's an engineer.
He's so shy. He probably thinks this song is about him, right?
But he was born programming, that type. But I will.
Oh yeah, I understand.
I will remind you of that. And Jerry, what did you think of Harvey? Isn't it scary?
Oh yeah, I saw that. The players weren't crazy about it either.
I know. Apparently, it almost gave one player a heart attack.
It popped up out of the ground, and it was in color too, and it popped up out of the ground.
And its eyes light up. That traumatized me as a child, having to watch that thing.
Sure.
So okay, well, we'll need to see that.
Well, I have to tootle off. I have another engagement. It's been wonderful again doing the show with you.
Are you installing a phone bank? Tell us the truth. What's going on? You got a part-time job?
No, I'm not.
He just has a second line.
It sounded like that.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well, then again, I thought, could those bells be the bells of St. Mary? And I thought, nah. The name just doesn't fit the bells of St. Mary.
No.
Feitelberg.
No.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Nancy, would you sing us a little song from the bells of St. Mary?
I don't know that.
A little ditty.
I'm too shy to sing.
You're shy. Is that did you pass on your shyness to your son?
I did about that. Yes, I did.
All right.
Yeah, no.
Well, I'll bet there are some things that he's not telling you that he's not shy about, and I'll bet there's some things that you're not telling him that you're not so shy about.
That's probably the case.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Okay.
And we'll be back next week, same that station.
And
thanks, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you,
okay.
Nancy. Thank you, Jerry.
Okay. You're welcome.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. Be well, everybody. Adios.
Okay, bye now. Where are we going? You want to go to TG Center? Or you want to go to Jason? No, TG. Okay. We wanted to get it to go? Good.
I just know where it is. Yeah. It goes up. Okay.
He wants to come up.
He's such a attention hog. He doesn't want to show his gig at all. Punky is. We're such a good girl. Yeah. Okay, now squeeze my hand. We need to go.
Yeah, we gotta go get it.
We now have to do some work.
Get Sue's address.
Yeah.
I'll put it into the GPS.
Well, now there's two light switches by the desk.
Did you find your stuff?
Oh, so now. It was terrible.
This little place is terrible.
No, yeah, we knew that.
You only went to San Diego.
We went to Stanford Mall and we ended up spending a fortune.
Oh, Stanford Mall?
Yeah.
That's very expensive.
Oh my God. Even my mom. I think you say all that kind of facial mark.
What is this? Joe?
Yeah.
Oh, you made the call.
I got it. Down. I forgot to get the whole fridge.
You do it every Friday, Thursday?
Yeah.